House, I've walked up the road just a couple of minutes from my home in County Galway. It's a subject I've painted so many times. At first I used to find it really tricky with all those windows lined up. But I suppose over time you figure out ways to make things a bit easier. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. So the first thing I want to do is use a very dilute watercolour to make the rough proportions for the front face of the house. Then I add in the side and I divide the strips of windows more or less roughly into the space each of them take up. I divide the front of the house into 3 strips to represent the 3 facets of the front of the house. And then I run little lines horizontally across them to show the positions of the windows, tops and bottoms of them. You can see there are 3 separate strips. Then I start blocking in the general positions of the windows. The shapes aren't too important because I can always finesse them when the paint is dry and I draw them with a pen. For right now, the important thing is to get good strong bones and the positions pretty much in an accurate way. Then I put in the road, that lovely meandering shape. Such a lovely view from this particular angle. I really like it. Now the pen I'm using is a Fude 55-degree nib. And what I love about this nib is that depending on the position you hold the nib, you get wider or narrower lines. I'm going to be using the narrow position, which is the reverse of the nib, just until I get a bit more confidence. And you can see here I've used that narrow position of the nib to get my initial lines in, making sure the corners are nice and sharp, drew in a few birds as well. When the ink is dry, I put on my first layer of paint. Now the colours I've used are deep sea violet and deep sea black, a little bit of glacier brown, and those 3 colours are in the super granulating range by Schminke. I love the effect they give. I love that granulating effect that they give you when they're dry. It's so gorgeous. The greens are Aquarius Green by Roman Schmal and also Green Appetite Genuine by Daniel Smith. And this is only the first layer, so it's still quite dilute. And you can see I've already lost those initial lines that I used to paint the overall shape when I first did the drawing. Now I've just added a few little bits of detail with my pen, starting to show the shadows inside the windows, and of course cronk cronk that the ravens are saying, the very loud birds, and a little bit of 3-dimensionality is beginning to take hold in the building by putting in those dark shadows. Well, I'm not cold yet, so I'm not complaining. It's pretty good. He is an extremely patient dog. You good boy, Reuben? Reuben, are you a good boy? You good? You are good. So the paint has started to dry now, and it's time to add some more layers just to really build up those values, because the building is very, very stark against the bright sky, and you need to show that. It's not a sunny day, it's an overcast day. The light is quite stark and quite bleak. So let's cut to the end and the 2 buildings. Here's the Tyrone House in reality, and here's mine, complete with lots more layers to really build up the depth. A little bit of the roadway added in, some grassy verge and some stone walls. I love having the 2 drawings side by side. The one on the right is the close-up of the entrance, and on the left is a slightly more distant view of the house. I guess the house would have been pretty magnificent in its heyday. I can see someone here who would love to go home. Watch this. Home? Do you want to go home? Do you want to go home? Yeah? Do you want to go home? Do you want to get your stuff together? Yeah? Okay, you get ready. Okay? And we'll go home. Good boy. Now he's the best boy.